Welcome to the RAMscaler elevator pitch. So in this presentation, I'm just going to go through a quick sales presentation for RAMscaler storage. Okay, so here's the problem. The problem is two things that we address. Unused memory, and this is increasing, and storage latency, which is the biggest application speed killer of all time. So let's start with unused memory. In many data centers, there are thousands of servers, hundreds of servers, and those servers are relatively modern. Most of the servers are at the most 5 years old. Most of those servers have hundreds of gigabytes of RAM installed. And those servers are running usually virtual machines. And those virtual machines are running applications. And what we're seeing is the applications are getting more efficient with memory. The hypervisor those applications are running on has some excellent memory management and memory compression capabilities. And as a result, we're seeing more unused memory on all of the servers in the data center. And progressively, as those servers get refreshed with more powerful servers in the future, we're seeing that issue of unused memory increasing to the point where there is at least hundreds of gigabytes now of unused memory on each server in the data center. And in 5 years' time, that could be 2 to 3 to 400 gigabytes per server. We're also seeing innovation around memory density in the server. Samsung, for example, are talking about coming out with a 512 gigabyte DIMM, of which will be available for servers at the end of 2021. And that means that there's a potential for servers to support up to 8, 12, 16 and higher terabytes of RAM. And there are use cases for that amount of memory in certain applications, but most mainstream business applications will never consume that memory. And so we have a use case for that memory. We have a way with RAMscaler to convert that memory into storage capacity, which then can be consumed by applications without any application rewrite whatsoever. So RAMscaler can be deployed using this unused memory, and that unused memory is turned into storage capacity, and that storage capacity is then consumed by these applications. The second thing we address is this issue of storage latency. Latency is a significant killer of application speed. It's probably the only bottleneck really left on the storage infrastructure to solve. And with RAMscaler, we are bringing the data closer to the CPU. If you look at this chart on the right hand side, you can see latency improves the closer you get to CPU, and one of the closest places to the CPU is memory. So with RAMscaler, we're able to take data from disk and put it into memory. That's all of the data for the applications that are running in virtual machines. So effectively, the storage your virtual machines are now consuming with RAMscaler is in fact memory, and that's unused memory on all of the servers in the data center. So the solution, as I've outlined, is unused memory plus RAMscaler software equals low latency storage capacity. We provide low latency storage from unused memory, and we provide it with high levels of compression so that we can present high levels of storage capacity from small amounts of available memory that are clustered together across all of the servers in a data center. So we take unused memory from each of the servers in a data center, and we cluster all of that available memory together, and we create storage capacity from that, which is then a place for data to be placed, which of course is closer to memory. So the solution is RAMscaler in-memory storage. It uses unused RAM, places data safely in RAM with data protection. That's it. Simple, easy to buy, easy to deploy, easy to use, and easy to scale. This is a scale-out architecture, meaning that there is limitless sizes of storage capacity that can be presented with RAMscaler storage. How does RAMscaler work? Well, we simply put a worker virtual machine on every compute server in the data center. That worker virtual machine creates compressed memory RAM disk block devices, presents those up to a network. Our management server VM clusters those RAM disk block devices together to create a large pool of storage capacity that is then presented to the hypervisor or directly to applications using standard storage protocols like NFS and iSCSI. The RAMscaler management virtual machine has all of the standard storage administration tools that you would expect from any storage product. It enables you to very simply set up, deploy, scale, and ongoing manage the environment. So why is this important now? Well, there are large pools of unused RAM on these servers now. Servers in data centers are very powerful. They have loads of unused memory. Also, memory is getting cheap enough to be considered for primary storage. Memory is getting to a price point, especially when you apply compression, with storage capacities at a price point that are now at a price point that organizations think is acceptable for use as primary storage, particularly for active data. So this is very important that you put active data as closer to the CPU as you can, and RAMscaler enables organizations to do that. We have powerful file systems now that are open source, highly available, highly redundant, and enable data protection across large clusters. And so we take advantage of those open source file systems in the product. Let's look at what the alternative is. Flash and SSD, NVMe, it's all ultimately flash storage, and that has a limited endurance. When SSDs and flash devices get full, they get slow and unreliable. The reason for that is data coming in to those devices when they're full is difficult to store in a sequential place. The storage appliance generally has to find available capacity for those new files coming in, and that slows down the write speed. Therefore, SSDs effectively get slower and more unreliable as they get full. Applications are more and more demanding lower storage latency. Latency is the only bottleneck really left on the storage infrastructure, because we've solved the issue of IOPS and throughput mainly, and so this is the last one to fix. And the only way to solve latency, which effectively is the effect of speed of light, is to bring data closer to CPU, and that's what RAMscaler does. There's a very quick return on investment for deploying RAMscaler storage in a data center, especially if there's a lot of unused memory. And alternative caching solutions, which are effectively another way of putting data closer to the CPU and in memory, are quite expensive. So this is a great solution for you to quickly deploy in a data center, consuming unused memory and providing storage capacity from that unused memory. Gartner 2 years ago said that in-memory computing will be an area of significant focus for organizations in 2 years. Well, we're now at that point. More and more organizations are seriously considering in-memory computing as an architecture, trying to get away from disk, trying to get as much data into memory as possible so that it is as fast as it can be accessible. So this is a really good point. We see more and more organizations talking about using in-memory computing, particularly for applications that are very active in nature, very transactional orientated, for example, serving the customer, where latency and responsiveness is very important. What competition do we have? Well, not much. Not much in the area of in-memory storage, which is where RAMscaler sits. RAMscaler is creating storage capacity from memory. There's some indirect competition, such as obviously the traditional expensive all-flash storage array vendors, expensive hardware solutions that require specialized device drivers, such as Intel Optane, NVMe, 3D XPoint, PCIe Flash. Software-defined storage solutions such as Scale.io are missing basic features, and they're very hard to deploy in a hyper-converged architecture Flash SSD technology has limited endurance, so these flash-based solutions that are effectively putting storage devices in places on servers where memory usually goes, they're still flash devices and they still have a limited endurance. Memory does not have a limited endurance. That's what we're using as a storage medium in RAMscaler. No other solutions leverage 100% software and the potential power of ROCE, RDMA over Converged Ethernet, and PVRDMA, which is a very new innovation where we're able to serve from our worker virtual machines NFS data from memory over RDMA from a virtual machine using power virtualized RDMA capabilities. So we are extremely innovative. RAMscaler is extremely innovative, taking advantage of leading edge technology, providing the fastest place to put data from a storage medium that you're not actually using, that organizations are finding is more and more unused. So this is unlocking unused memory and enabling that to be used as a storage medium. The key value proposition is obvious. Leverage and utilize unused memory. Easy to install with a downloadable OVA format to get this up and running in the environment in a data center really quickly. Works with all hypervisors and even in cloud environments. It's a software-defined storage that works seamlessly with TCP and RDMA networks. List price of around $10,000 per terabyte for production environments, and that's a single terabyte purchase price. That purchase price significantly reduces with scale, and we're talking to organizations that are potentially looking at this for petabytes of storage, and at that capacity, the price point can be significantly lower than $10,000 per terabyte. Unlimited usage for dev and test, so you can set up a proof of concept of RAMscaler in your environment with no cost at all to you. Just download the software and set it up in your environment. You only need to purchase a license for RAMscaler when it's put into production. All other solutions require complex hardware installation. This solution is quick to set up and configure. Well, thank you very much. That is the RAMscaler elevator pitch. That is the quick sales presentation on how to position and sell. And for organizations considering RAMscaler storage, this really is a technology that we encourage you to try out in your environment. There's absolutely no risk to trying this technology in your environment, and you'll be very pleased you did. Thank you for your time.